let's get into it.
Yes, sir, bro. I kind of want to talk about a couple things today. The most important thing that's been on our mind was battle rhythm. Yesterday, we were talking about it towards the end of the day, where we both felt that we're establishing some kind of rhythm going on with our day to day. Our workouts, our nutrition, our editing, the way you take calls, your meetings, the way you set up your day. Explain to me what a battle rhythm is and where that thought or that idea came to be, you know?
So battle rhythm is used primarily in the military, right? That's where it came from, but it applies in business. And so when the company was getting organized per se and getting its structure down in terms of operations and so on, I came up with a battle rhythm for everybody, right? And that's basically, it's to synchronize, it's to get productive, it's to know what you need to do. It ties in with like some of our core, like one of our core values of taking initiative. A lot of it just basically is there's, you know what, you may not know what to do, but this having a battle rhythm will kind of give you a sense of organization of what you need to do, right? And so when you know what you need to do, whether it's, hey, my morning consists of this, and then this is what the afternoon looks like, and this is what the evening looks like, you can almost take on those like as objectives, and you can take them off one by one, right? And so it gives you a sense of clarity, it gives you organization, but it synchronizes. Like we're all moving in the same direction at the same pace, right? And so you can relate it to something as simple as like cadence, running cadences, right? The cadence of your footsteps and so on. Like I'm sure when you're running, I'm sure you're counting steps of like, okay, this is my pace, or you get me? And so it applies in business. It applies in business for like future planning, the current operations, right? But when you have a grasp or an idea of what to do today, and you can do that consistently, when we talk about reps, you get that growth.
And who would this affect? Who does this relate to, the battle rhythm?
Battle rhythm, it applies to everybody. It applies to whether you're selling deals or you're managing deals or managing sales or in any aspect. Like you can have a battle rhythm in anything, right? And so it's getting like a clear-cut idea or a clear-cut, this is what we need to do. And that's what it comes down to, because a lot of time, like especially in business and working for yourself, it seems sometimes it's like, what do I do today? That's what it feels like sometimes, especially when you're starting. Now it's like, well, there's so much that you have to do, but in the very beginning, it's what do I do to be productive? Like I know I have to prospect or make these contacts or whatever it is, but that battle rhythm basically gives you the almost like a blueprint that you created, or that I created, or whatever it is, for you to follow to get in that cadence, right? And so I want you to think about it like this. When you first start running, right? Running is a great example, because I think a lot of people struggle to find that rhythm, which is why a lot of people, again, what did you say the percentage of people who run marathons are?
Less than 1%, right? Or 1%.
And so if you relate it to running, it's basically like in the very first maybe half mile or so, or again, I think it varies per person, but you're struggling to find this like, okay, what's my pace? What's my pace? And when you figure out your pace, it's a much easier process to just keep going, right? That's what battle rhythm does. Is once you get aligned to it and you start following that, it does the same thing as you keeping a good pace now. Does that make sense?
It does.
And so in the very beginning, like I said, when you're struggling to get your foot or get your rhythm on, or that cadence going, or tempo, whatever you want to call it, this helps that.
Okay. So for anybody, right? What would it look like? Let's say, how would you create a battle rhythm, or what is that define?
Well, this is the thing. Like, what is the goal? And I can talk to you from the point of like a salesperson, right? When you first start, you have no clients, you have no customers, you have nothing. So in the very beginning, this is the way I treat it is, hey, let's make sure let's just say like you're now started, right? It may be something as simple as, well, from this time I'm handling emails. From this time I'm making contacts. From this time I'm whatever. You get what I'm saying? And so, like, if you kind of see the way that I am in the morning, it's physical, right? We get our workouts in, and then when I come into the office, it's either I start reading, and it's real quick, or as quick as I can, and if I can read longer, I will, and whatever, right? And then it gets into accounting, projections of what's coming in, what's going out, right? And then I can get into, okay, well, let's go over whoever needs help, meetings, whatever the case is, and then I kind of structure. I do everything as early as I can, so that way. That's typically when the way that my mind works is, if I get everything out when nobody's here, I'm not bothered. And so now when everyone's awake and they're all working, I can get, hands on with whatever needs my attention. Right. And then towards the end, we talk about, okay, well, let's film this. Let's go over tape. Let's go over whatever. And that's battle rhythm. So
building out the structure of your day on your day-to-day basis.
Exactly.
And how does it come? Does it come naturally, or you just...
No, you have to... There's a level of planning that goes into it. There isn't just like, I know some, like, if we didn't come up with, this is what we're going to do, we would never be synchronized. You might show up to the gym at 5, and I might show up at 4:30. You get me? And so having the battle rhythm amongst your peers, or even as a company, or even just the two of us, it gives you... That synchronization makes it just work better.
Makes it more flawless.
Or
smoother.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know about flawless. I mean, Don't get me wrong. There's still crap that's going to happen, right? And maybe that's not what you meant to say, but it's definitely... It's organization.
And organization is a big part of your day-to-day. It's pretty much how your day moves based off organization. So for those that aren't entrepreneurs, how would a battle rhythm, or how would you go about creating a battle rhythm?
Well, it's first identifying what the objective is, right? What are you looking to gain or achieve, or whatever the case is, right? So let's say from the aspect of what I was like. I was a college student working. I was going to the gym. I cared about my health, right? So that's not where it ends, though, right? Like, the battle rhythm, when you're talking about battle rhythm, it's more so for some sense of plan or growth in that aspect, right? Let's say you are a student aspiring to be a bodybuilder. And then, so if that's my objective, now I know what I need to do. So I'm a student first. I know I have to take care of this, whatever. So I know from this time to this time, this is what I'm going to follow. It's the same thing almost. Let me scratch that. It's the same thing as bodybuilders. It's a regime. It's like like you're following a plan, just like you follow a running plan. Right? You know, by week 1, this is what you need to follow. Week 2, this is what you need to follow. Without it, you're like, okay, well, let's try it and hope for the best. Right? And so I don't think it's that hard to come up with your personal battle rhythm when you identify what it is you want. Again, we talk about the objective. So when you know this is the objective, it's basically goal planning. Okay, well, this is what I want. How do I get it? This is what I need to work on. Right? And if you know you're a student that's busy in the mornings, then you're going to handle school, and after that's done, you're going to take care of what you need to. If you're a student at night, then you know that your mornings are freed up, and you're going to plan your day according to that. Right? And that's what it is. So it's like, if I know I need to cook and I'm working late at night, what should you do? Cook it before. It's that idea that you just break down with whatever the objective is. I'm using very small examples of cooking or stuff like that, but when you're talking about moving a company forward or moving your book of business forward, there needs to be some routine that you need to create. And again, it can almost go back to reps, but it's doing the same thing.
It's creating the cadence for your life.
Exactly. For your business, for your life, for whatever it is, again, whatever the objective is.
And the importance of creating this structure is huge, enormous. You see most of the most wealthiest or most successful people in the world have this type of structure built around their business, career, lives, relationships, you
Right.
name it. They have a time and space, a goal set in mind, and they attack those goals one at a time rather than jumping from back and forth from goal to goal.
Yeah, it's kind of what I talked about prior too, about like multitasking and having all these things on your plate. It's one at a time, right? And so I think being able to implement that. So the way that if you see like our sales culture is very, this is the time we meet. After this meeting, we're going to go into this training. After this, we're going to go into, well, let's get after it, and then so on. And so you'll see that rhythm. And you've been here to where you see like, this is these days that like, let's not call it these days, we're holding the meeting and so on. And so it allows you to not just gain momentum off of it, right? Because that's what it is also. You're getting the momentum off of the reps and doing so, but you can now plan your day according to priorities, which again, like today I knew I had two important meetings that I had to take, and I planned everything around basically anything that I needed to do in addition. I planned it around it. There's always stuff that I need to do, which is why you see me doing the numbers and whatever it is early on, but anything else I can make time for it outside of it, right?
Getting your priorities in line and attacking around it.
Yep.
I think the idea of consistency or the idea of routine is important for humans because it allows us to get into a flow of things. It allows our body to be used to doing a certain thing in a day or doing certain things in the day that you need to do, and it makes it more comfortable on your body to be able to achieve these goals or knock these goals down and stuff like that.
Yeah, and so that is important. I think the misconception is like, you'll hear people saying like, I can't stick to a routine or whatever the case is, but it's so important for you to get into that rhythm. Again, we talk about battle rhythm. It's so important for you to get into this routine. And I think before it was like, I don't think about it like that right now, but I think before it was like, it's so like, how bad is, like, it must suck to have this routine of being able to, or having to do this in the morning and then go to work and then come back at night. Like I want, especially like, maybe this is not everybody, but for me it was, I want to, as an entrepreneur, I can do whatever I want or whatever the case is. And I realize now running it, it's routine. It's the routine that got me the results we have currently, and it's going to be the routines that I continue to implement that'll take us forward. And again, I'm saying I'm talking about me personally, but as a company, we're all putting it together as a team. But that is, again, the reason why I implemented Battle Rhythm. I can't get there alone. And I got here because we have such a good group of guys that have worked their asses off to move that needle forward as a company, right? And so my thing is, if we're all rowing in the same direction at the same beat, it's that much more, I guess, what is the term? Like, not leverage, but that's how much more velocity or that you have when we're all rowing together.
So I was gonna go to that idea too. It's almost like a well-oiled machine, a row. A row team. That right. You guys all have to lift the paddles at the same time and push at the same time and move at the same time. And if it's not in synchronicity, it could maybe divot to the left or divot to the right or whatever the case may be.
Right. You know those big row teams, like with lots of people in the very front. You know who that person is, right?
It's a drummer.
It's the cadence.
Doom,
that's that
doom,
rhythm.
Doom, doom. Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
And so when you realize how important it is for you to gain momentum, okay, why not implement it here? Like there has to be a reason they're doing something. And again, like, I think this is something for anyone at any level for you to look at, is like, why are they doing it? I'm saying if they have the results that you're looking for, what are they doing? Why are they doing it? And maybe I should follow it.
And if maybe nobody has installed that principle or that idea in your field, maybe it would be a good idea to jump on that too, right?
And you try it. If it works, great. You innovated something or you made something work for your company. If it didn't work, cool, don't use it, right? But you have to think like, why is everyone doing it? And this is counterintuitive it's in terms of like a path to follow. But I'm saying within your industry or of the successful people or successful group of people you're looking at, if they're doing it, maybe ask or see how it helps and so on, right? And so when you think about just the military in general, that's a big business, right? It's a big business that's been operating since 1775, 1776, whatever the case is, right? And so you'll start to see, well, it's not the same as it was when it first started, but they implement certain things and they've adapted and changed courses or processes that make them, again, we have the greatest military in the world
for a reason.
Yeah. Really.
I think it comes down to that for anybody, entrepreneur, athlete, student, business, whatever it may be. Finding that cadence in your life is crucial.
Yeah,
it's important. And if maybe we don't have it or we haven't established those things into our lives or business, it's fundamental to maybe invest your time into planning properly. Yes. Or creating a rhythm, creating a day in your structure of the company or something like that. Because there's many entrepreneurs probably that wake up and let's say the only thing that they know they're going to do for sure is, let's say, gym.
Right.
But then when it comes to their business, they leave it open, right? They leave it open without proper preparation. I had a coach who would always talk about the 6 P's. Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. And I think it's crucial, correct?
Right. And so it is important in terms of like, especially the way you said it is flow, when you're in that flow state, right? And it's the way that I explain it, or the way that I would like to like almost explain it to people is, if you don't, it gets easier as you start getting into a rhythm. That's why people say like, yeah, I'm getting in the hang of it. I'm getting in the rhythm. Like I understand it now. And so when you get into that rhythm, things get easier, right? And so when you think about it in any aspect of whether it's sports, business, your life, and you brought it up, like there's some people who know, well, no matter what, today I'm going to gym, right? So I was that person where I knew that's all I know, no matter what, this is what I'm going to do, right? So now imagine if you just had a rhythm for, this is what I'm going to do in the morning, this is what I'm going to do in the evening, or in the afternoon and in the evening. You're 3 times as more productive as the person who doesn't know what the hell he's going to do, right? And so now you implement that from an objective standpoint, or like whatever tasks you have to complete, or whatever the goal is that you're aiming for, whether it's a today goal or a 1-year goal or a 10-year goal, whatever that goal is. When you get into the hang of it and you get into that flow, it makes it easier to move. And so again, there's plenty of successful companies doing it. I wasn't smart enough to come up with it myself. It's just something that I know that's worked for me, or it's worked for me without even knowing what Battle Rhythm was. It worked for me when we were running Cadence in the military. It worked for me when you build a routine to get a better physique, or whatever the case is. Having that rhythm really helps you align to what your goals are.
And that ties in too with your intentions of the day. I mean, Ed Milet talks about how he says what he's gonna do out loud to himself every morning, and that sets the intention, the pace of the day, the, how do you call it, the starter, you know what I'm saying,
the catalyst,
correct. It's the catalyst for his day to day. He says, yo, I'm gonna do this today, and guess what, it gets done,
right?
And that's part of it, correct?
Exactly. And so if you think about it from that aspect, like that is his rhythm. This is how I'm going to start my day. There are some people who start their day where my day don't start without a cup of coffee or whatever.
That's a perfect example. That's a great example.
Okay, so if that's what it takes to start, then that's what you're going to follow. And so if you can have a routine of drinking coffee every morning, you can have a routine for building what you want in your life. That's what it is.
And it starts with the dissection of your day. Like maybe you already have a battle rhythm and you don't even know it.
Exactly. Yes.
You know, like the cup of coffee, that's part of the day.
Right. And we're just putting a fancy name to it or a cool name to it.
Correct.
You don't even have to, like, if you're following it, do it. You don't even have to listen to this.
No, you gotta listen. you gotta listen.
Yeah, but that's what it is. Like, I followed things, like, especially in the military, where it's like, well, we PT in the morning. After PT, this is what we're gonna do, and after this, like, there's a rhythm to how we do things, and I know when you get that going, whether it's from an individual standpoint or a team perspective, when you have that, there's your initiative. That's one of our core values, is to take initiative, right? And if you already know what you need to do without being told what to do, you're already on track for progress.
You know, one thing I heard today that stuck out to me, and I wrote it down in bold letters. I had to reread it right now.
Uh-huh.
It said, everything, Ed Milet said, everything is your responsibility.
Mm.
And when you think about it and you break down what that means, it's breaking down your day, making sure that you're holding yourself accountable, making sure that you plan, organize, and structure what you need to do.
Right.
And do it.
That's what I say. Basically, like, if you saw me, like, in the middle of the calls, like, I say that, or like, this is what I think, right? And again, that helps me build confidence in my belief, because I used to tell you, like, I already know that. That's how I used to be. But now I'm hearing it from somebody who already does it, and I'm like, I do that too.
It's the assurance.
Right? But the way that my verbiage is, everything's your fault. And I'm sure you've heard me say that. Everything is your fault. Good or bad, it's always your fault, right? And it comes from the extreme sense of ownership. I'm going to own everything, the good and the bad, right? And so it's the same thing with everything is your responsibility, right? I learned this in the military. I've learned this in different places, but it's like, well, I don't want to, I guess when things go bad, it's not your fault, but when things go right, it is your fault. Like, you don't want any of that either, right? But when you come to understand everything is your fault, everything in your life is your fault, or that's around you, you build that ultimate sense of accountability, right? Where there's no one else to blame but you. And when you stop, that comes down to victim mentality, where it's the responsibility, your life, or however it is you're living. You can sit there and say, well, I was born into a crappy child, or like a crappy home, and I didn't have XYZ. Well, there's plenty of people who were in the same position as you, but made something out of it, right? And so when you buy into the fact that everything is your fault or your responsibility, you build that sense of accountability that's unwavering, right? Where you know, like, I got to do it, I have to, or what this is what I need to do, and you'll start to see that progress or growth or whatever, maybe a little bit better life that you're trying to live.
It's in the fine line too. It's in between those cracks where good and bad, you'll find the silver lining, as they say, right? It's a great example of being responsible, taking initiative. That idea of whether things are going well, because a lot of people like to be in those moments where, yeah, it's going well, that's me, right? But then when things are going bad, oh no, that was not me.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it's finding that balance, whether it's good or bad, it's all you.
And those are some of the worst people to be around, in my experience, is anybody who wants to take credit for anything good, but when everything goes bad, it's never their fault.
You had told me a story about a old leader of yours or something along those lines.
Yeah, that word leader is used loosely there, right? And again, personally, I hope he does well, right? And I I don't wish anything bad. Like, I think he's a great human being, right? But he was one of those guys where when there was praise to be given, it was always like, I did this, right? But when everything went bad, it was like, oh, you you idiot. And in the beginning, I didn't know better, right? But I had another leader at the same time. Anytime there was praise, he would be like, "Hey, they did it. Don't come to me. They did it. I told them what to do. They did it." And when everything went bad, he always took the hit for it. And so I think as a young adult who knew very little or nothing about leadership, it was like, here are the two people. Who would I rather be? I would rather be the latter, right? And then as I learned the leadership traits, as you progress in the military, you know there's certain traits that you need to learn or have or whatever the case is. And I realized, to me, that's a good leader, right?
And I think the military does a really great job at that. You know, you told me yourself, if anything, it made me a good leader. Like if I learned one thing, it was to be a better leader.
I want to say that a little bit less. Like I didn't want to come off like cocky, right? There are plenty of better people who have more experience in leading than me. I think what the Marine Corps has taught me isn't about like being necessarily the best leader, but it's taught me, like, the question that I always ask is, would you want to be led by you? It was because of those two individuals I began to ask this question. I don't want to be led by this guy, but that person, this second person, I do want to be led by him, right? And so I don't want to say that it's made me a good leader. I have plenty of flaws that I can, you can argue against. He's not a great leader, but I do believe I try my best. Okay. And I try my best with the putting people first, and so on. Like I know when to balance that, because there's always if you always put people first, they're gonna take advantage of you. And there's a lot of things that I've learned through my experience that I think has cultivated my leadership style today, right? But the Marine Corps has really put that in light of what I want. Of if I ever led, I would think that if I ever was in the position, and I want to be in that position, I would always think that as a young Marine, I want to be in the position to lead, but I don't want. This is who I want to be led by. So you'll hear me asking, do you want to be led by you? If not, there's a lot of crap you got to change. And that reflection, just that question alone, it allows them to reflect on, are they operating at their like full capacity, or are they giving 50% effort but wanting 100% credit?
Have you ever seen that image? It's like an illustration of what a bad leader looks like and what a good leader looks like. Mm-hmm. And there's a image where there's a leader on like a stool held up high. Yeah. And then there's another image of a leader like pulling the team, and he's the one pulling the hardest part of the rope. Right. You've seen that image?
I've seen it. Leading from the front.
Leading from the front.
Right.
Right. That's a huge idea, or a huge concept that many people probably just take for granted, you know. Right. And I think,
and that was the meeting I had just like 2 days ago, right? The conversation that I had was, don't expect people to do what you're asking if you've never done it or you're never willing to. Mm-hmm. Was a big one. That was one of the traits where I was like, dude, you don't do anything.
Yeah.
In my head, again, I want to say that he put in his time to get that rank, sure, but I'm like, what the hell, right? And part of it, everyone thinks like leading from the front is always like, I got to be down in the trenches every single day, and I get that. Like sometimes I'm out there and I'm grinding too, right? But there are other times where I know like I have other responsibilities to take care of, or other tasks to take care of, and I'm so confident in the team and the group of guys that are here that I don't have to ever think like, okay, well, if I'm not there, it's not going to happen, which is the exact reason why I haven't really been, I am very involved, but like these guys make it happen. Without me here, it operates. And so, yeah, and that's what I think, like, okay, well, that's exactly what I was telling them. If you don't want to be led by you, there's a lot of things that you have to change. And oftentimes that leading from the front really just means setting the example, right? When you're in front, everyone can see you. So It's making sure that little things that I ask. Hey, make sure the chairs are straight. When you use the coffee pot, right? Fill it back up. Don't leave it empty for the next person to fill it before you. And it's little things like that you'll see me doing. Or if I spill something, I'm wiping it down or whatever. Like, I'm not like, okay, you get me?
Yeah, you're not brushing it under the rug.
It starts like that. So I can't tell you to keep the chair straight when every time I leave that conference table, it's thrown around and rules don't apply to me. Right? That's, I think, the most fundamental point of that topic of leading from the front is you're never too big to take out the trash. Right? And some people get in their heads where it's like, oh, I am this position in the company. I don't take out trash. Like, we've been taking out trash ever since. Whether it's me, Daniel, Dom, or Ryan, or whoever it is, we're always like, that's how it's been. A little bit different here because they take out the trash for us, right? But that's what it came down to. You're never too big to stop doing things like taking out trash.
That takes a lot. That's just part of like setting that winning culture with that culture within the company, right, or the business or yourself.
And I think that's what it comes down to for me is if I ever ask, this is what needs to be done, they'll never question. I hope they never question, well, why doesn't he do it? Because I'll show you if I've already done it. Not I've done it in the past. I'll show you I'm doing it now. Which is the same thing as to why we have young guys that are getting into the fitness part of their lives, and I'm like, okay, well, he came to my house this morning. He's like, okay, I'm gonna run with you. I was like, all right then, let's run, right? I'm not the guy saying like you got to get fit, and like I'm slacking off. Like, I don't want to be that leader either. Right?
How would it look on you?
Yeah, really though. And so that's what it feels like. And so you'll see it. You'll see people claiming about, like, I just saw these videos on social media talking about like people pretending to have what they don't, or what they don't have, to try and influence other people and so on. Like, I can just lead through my own actions. And I have to just reiterate, I ask for small things in here. Right? I'm not asking for, make sure you're mopping the floor, okay? But I do know when they do spill, I didn't even have to say it. They're looking for Clorox. They're looking for they're not just wiping, like, and I love that. It's that extra step that he took. Instead of just wiping it with a paper towel, which he did, he went back to get Clorox and all this other stuff to disinfect everything.
I remember that.
And to me, I'm like, damn, right?
It's part of the culture.
Right. And so, again, I have to reiterate, wherever you are, in whatever position that you hold, whether you're the owner or whatever it is, you're never too big to do the little things. Right. And I think when in my head, I thought if I can continue to do that, no matter what position I hold, they'll know, like, I'm in it for I'm in it for the team.
This is us.
Right. You and me, we're the same. We're the same human beings. I'm no greater than you are. So let's work. And that's how I've treated it. Hey, this is a team. Like, I'm here to serve you just like you're here to work. Like, let's make something happen. It's never been, well, what the hell are you doing wasting my time or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Right? And I am happy with the culture we have. There's a lot that we need to work on, sure, but that comes with the mindset of, like, everything can be better, right? But in terms of, if you look at whoever walks into the office, you'll see their first initial thought process, or like their first reaction. Dude, it's sick in here. Like, you run it like this. It's so sick. I'm like, thanks, dude.
we
pretty badass.
Run it like a ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, bro. Everybody serves a purpose. Everybody does their part. Nobody is above one another. And the only time you'll see something like that is when a older team member will try to help out one of the younger guys, you know, and kind of straighten them out in a sense, you know. And I think that's beautiful. Like you see people caring enough for one another to, hey, that's not right. Yeah, let's get right.
Exactly.
And that's badass, bro.
Yeah. I love that corrections are made internally. The corrections are never made always by me or whoever it is. You've seen it, right? Like, hey, and I love that because that's our standard now. And so I heard this thing about if you preach about having this culture, but without you, they don't follow it, then that's not your culture. But when you're not there, and they're still operating like that, you've now built culture, right? And so there's little reminders when I see things like that of like, hey, Mo, you shouldn't be, you know, like, what the hell are you doing?
You shouldn't be doing that, bro. Get right.
Like, why did you do that? Or like little things where you just get corrected on the spot. I'm just like, dude. And I may not notice it in that moment, but I always think back and I'm like, damn. Not bad for a company named after a little dog.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. At first, I thought it was named after a street because we do have Paxton.
My dog, my little Yorkie.
My dog.
Yeah, people always think it's named after Paxton Street. Mm-hmm. But that's actually my dog, named after a supercharger. It's funny. But
pumping numbers right here, bro.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, bro. And it kind of ties back to that battle rhythm, bro. It ties back to that idea of structure. Influence, ideology. You know, everybody now is on the same page, the same frequency, where we need to attack together. We need to attack. And if something's or someone's, let's say, falling behind a bit, hey, what you need? How can I help? Let's get back to it. And it's cool. You see that all the time. People come into the office and ask for help for the other guys. They'll come to Daniel and be like, Daniel, let me have a one-on-one with you.
Yeah.
Alex, let me have a one-on-one. And it's cool to see that you guys will take your time out of your busy days because it'll be busy. But it's important too. Those little things are important for you guys too.
This is what I've learned to. There's two truths to this. Okay. I'm not naive enough to think that I would be here without these guys. Right? And major part as to why we're here is because of these guys here. Right? But I also, this is the other truth. Fuck it, we're gonna do it anyway. And in the the reason why I'm saying that is because very early, like, there's this like thought process of, well, without them, you know, you're nothing. And I love them to death. Every one of them, it's like, okay, well, I am thankful that I do get the privilege to work with you. Right. And I do know that without their individual efforts, we wouldn't have our result. Right. Because it took every person to put in work. Not just one, not two, but it took every person to put in work. But it's also that thought process of, we're going to fucking make it happen anyway. With them, without them, I don't need nobody's belief. Like, I got it. And that's what I've learned to balance. Right? But yeah, it's true. It took the efforts of every individual here to create this great result. It wasn't one person. It wasn't me by myself. It wasn't Daniel by himself. It wasn't Ryan by himself, or Dom by himself, or any of the guys for the matter. It was one at a time, or every single person putting in their individual full efforts to build what we built.
And it's a beautiful thing, bro. You know, structure plays a huge role in everything, from your day-to-day, from your company, from how you brush your teeth, if you brush your teeth in the morning.
That's crazy. You have to say that.
It's crazy, bro. You don't know how many people's breath stinks in the morning. But you know, it's a thing. It's part of that battle rhythm, bro. You've created a culture here where we set the tone with the Monday morning meetings, or at least the Monday morning meetings every week. That's the tone for the week. Daniel describes what's gonna happen, and we attack.
Yeah.
He then leads on to teaching, educating, right? After education, questioning, questions, coaching, and it's a structure. You can hear it from what I'm telling you right now, that everything is back to back to back to back.
Right.
And it's something that's built over time. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a week. It's been years in the making.
Yeah, definitely not. It has been years. And there's been a lot of times where we learn through failure, where we learned like, well, this isn't the way to do it. And we've lost a lot of good, I don't want to say good talent, but we've lost teams where, because we let one person slide through the crack, it basically tarnished the entire team. And it was like, okay, well, we got to start over again. Right? That whole notion of one bad apple, what is it? One bad apple's
rottens the group or something like that.
Something along those lines, and I have learned it. Right? But our thing in here is, if we create a culture so strong that we actually live by, right? When one person who doesn't fit in the team wants to come in and, try to cut corners or whatever the case is, I won't see that, obviously. I'm not down in every person's day-to-day, right? But if we have a culture strong enough to where if they said, or this new person was trying to cut corners, the person training him would be just like, that's not the way we do shit here. Right? Which is what you see little by little here. And that's what it is. Right? But
yeah, the team calls them out straight up.
Yeah, we do have the call out culture. And so this isn't for to hurt nobody's feelings, but it's, what you should do and what you shouldn't be doing. And cool, handle it. Right? And I talk about it even from a New Year's resolution standpoint. Everyone talks about what they need to start doing. What about what you need to stop doing? Right? That's equally as important.
That part.
And people aren't thinking that. People always think, well, the new goal is to become a better this, and again, better. People always think it's by adding stuff. It's also by taking stuff out. And for you to focus on what your goal is, it's also equally as important for you to focus on what you should not be doing.
And that goes over our heads. Yeah. That honestly probably is the number one thing that we really don't think about when we think of New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
We think about what we need to do rather than what we need to get rid of or shed away, or you right. Get what I'm saying? And yeah, man, that's an important point right there. I think
it is. And the reason why I'm saying that is because obviously we're in the season right now where everyone's talking about goals and so on. But I think what it comes down to is, when you're hyper focused on what your goals are, it's great. But when you can now add the additional leverage of, I need to stop doing this, or this is stuff that I can take out of my life, it's also just as important. Right? And when you apply the two together, it's like my idea of like fear and that happy feeling. I can balance both. Some people are driven off fear. Some people are driven off this happy feeling of, I got to achieve something. And if you can work both, holy crap. And that's what I've learned. I always say it, where I was a very fear-driven individual. I did things because I was scared I was scared of the result if I didn't do it. Right? So something as simple as, if I don't wake up on time, I'm going to get in trouble. That fear is what got me to wake up. Right? But then when I started to balance the happy feeling of the manifestation, or what I got to feel what winning was like, that both of that, I used it together. What if I don't achieve it is fear, and I used it to propel it. Where before, I think a lot of people can kind of understand this thought, where you get stuck in the what ifs for too long. Right? What if this happens, and then this happens, and then what if this happens, and then you spiral down. But if you can manage that fear and use it as leverage to make progress, which is exactly what I did. And whenever I talk about like people who have doubt, discourage, disbelief, right, the 3 Ds, I was so good at those 3 things. I was so scared of failure. I used to go into this spiral of, if I don't do it, then this is going to happen, and then that's going to happen, and then I'm going to die. Or like, I end up doing something, thinking about something crazy. And I would end up, after doing that and falling into this spiral, I would be exhausted mentally and almost physically. I would be like, damn, I'm drained. Right? But I got so good at it where it made me, I wasn't able to perform, where I kind of like sheltered. I'm like, okay, well, and I think that may have been a big part as to why I lived my life like a damn loser for a long time. Right? And then when I started to just use that fear to like move myself forward, like, that's not what I want, so let's move. It helped me. And then I balanced it with, damn, it felt good. And I just kept doing that.
Wow, what a beautiful cycle. That in itself is a part of the battle rhythm too. It's part of the rhythm of life. Learning to use things to fuel you. There's a quote that I read in the Bible, I think, or that like my Bible app gave me this morning, and it was let me try to read it really quick. It said love your enemies, let them bring the best in you, not the worst. And it's almost kind of part of that idea of using that fear or using that pain to motivate you, to propel you, because a lot of people will feed into that fear or feed into that how do you say, negative energy. And instead of using it to propel them forward, it will drain them, it will bring them down, or discourage them for the lack of the matter, right? And we got to be able to learn how to pivot that mentality and use those certain feelings to be able to bring the best out of us, and it's exactly what you just said. Fear motivated me, or fear the fear of losing motivated me, is what you said.
The fear, just fear in general. In the very beginning, fear is what stunted me. I don't want to make that jump. I don't want, like, I'm going to fail, or what, this is going to happen, and if I do this, I could lose it all. Like that fear. But, you start to make this shift. Well, at least I did, is you make this shift in thought process of, well, if I don't do it, I'm screwed. So I have to. Right? And I always relate this to waking up, where a early part of my life, a good majority of my early adulthood, I had to wake up because I was told to, not because I wanted to. Right? And I was always the first person, if not, or like one of the first people, if not the first person out every time, because I was so scared to get in trouble. Right? And so when I started to realize, like, I can do things because I'm scared. Like, I can be the high achiever because I'm scared.
Wow.
And I was like, holy shit. Right? And so I related that to waking up. It may not make the most sense, right? Like, hopefully it makes sense, but that's basically the drive that I use, where it's like, okay, well, I wake up, and as blessed as I am to have my life and to live the life that I live currently, I still have this fear of, if I don't work, I'm gonna lose it. And that's what allowed me to push, along with the feelings of winning's fun.
They go one in one. They go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand. It's like the yin yang, dark light, whatever. And if you can work both, great. And I've it was a work in progress, and it's still a work in progress, but it's something that I used together that helped me propel.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was part of the cadence, bro.
Yeah, it was part of what built. Yeah, at the time it wasn't cadence. At the time it was just figuring it out. Right. And again, I hope what like these conversations do is it allows you to see things in a different light, maybe than what you're used to, and maybe it might help. Hopefully it does. Right. It's what helped me. Right. But yeah, I look back, and like these conversations that we have allow me to just think back in my life and just realize like what I was actually like, right? Because there's always different perspective. There's a perspective that of what I thought and what I saw in my life, and there's going to be perspective of what other people saw. And so when I was at certain points in my life, I would always think like, okay, this is not bad. This is not bad. And I settled. But now I look at my life from where I am right now, and I'm like, no shit, you had nothing. Right? And being able to dissect and reflect on who I was, it's that's why I speak like this. Right? And then when I decided I wanted to change my life is also when I was like, okay, I started to make I started to make changes. I started to form habits. And it's helped. And like I've showed you some of the notebooks back then where I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I would just do it day at a time, every day. And at that time, did those daily tasks really change my life? No, not monumentally where I saw a change in my life. But it was the micro changes, the habits that I was forming that allowed me to just, okay, now is the time. And it worked.
It works, bro. It works. And people don't know or understand the significance of planning, writing, thinking out loud, thinking to yourself, putting down ideas to pen, because things are more likely to succeed or happen when you bring them from your mind to the physical world.
Right.
It's just a crazy feeling then when you wrote something maybe a year ago and it's happening, who knows, 2 years later.
Right.
But it's happening.
Yeah, I think that's what we heard is you have to believe in what you're doing. Like you have to buy into that fact that I am going to accomplish this. And when you have nothing to show for, it's difficult. Right? But when you start taking down tasks of I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and you start doing it, it starts to become more believable. And then who knows, maybe you start believing yourself because you started making your bed because you said you were going to. Or because you ate healthy like you said you were going to. And then that built a level of confidence in, okay, well, if I can do those things, well, I can achieve this thing too. It might just take a little bit of time. Right?
Everything in due time.
Yeah, and that's what it is. Really, I've said this before, but everything you want in life, it requires work. Everything worth having requires work. And I think that's also part of that intrinsic value of why it means so much is because there was a level of hurt or investment or sacrifice or whatever it is that you had to make to get that. Right? And
I think that's where that's part of the lecture, I think, that stands out the most. Yeah. In today's conversation, at least, that everything that's worthwhile is going to take time, effort.
Yeah, it takes effort. Everything worth having requires effort. It requires a level of investment that you have to make, whether that price is high or low. For the most part, everything you want, the price is high, right? And you have to be willing to pay the price. And I think because you paid so much for it, it makes it worth it. I want you to think about it like this. When you buy a pair of shoes for $10 and you buy a pair of shoes for $1,000, which do you take care of better? What you had to pay more for, right? So if you already understand that idea, then you also come to understand, well, if you put in more effort, and we're talking about effort as the currency, whatever you're achieving or whatever you're trading for, that effort is worth more.
It means that much more.
It means that much more, exactly. And so when you talk about things with that whole sentimental value or whatever the case is, maybe it was the cheapest thing, but it holds sentimental value. Why? Because there's probably someone important attached to it and what they've done for your life or whatever the case is. Right? But right now, if we're talking about the lifestyle or the life you want to live, that you dream about, that you imagine in your life, it's going to require a price. And the price is generally always high. Right? And when you're not willing to waver from that price, and you believe, okay, well, I'm going to get it no matter what, you'll get it. and it'll be worth it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was beautiful, bro.
That's it, dude. And that's what I think about in my life, of like what's worth it in life. That's why I sit there and I always tell you my favorite car was my Mustang. That was my favorite car, and it was my cheapest car. But that was the car where I saved for God knows how long. Like that was I would print out that picture and put it in my binder. You know, as a little kid, you have the binders, and I would put that in front of there. It would be my wallpaper. It was everywhere. It was a $300 car payment that I couldn't afford. But I think I saved from 16 to 19. I saved for 3 years to buy that car. And again, it wasn't a crazy expensive car. It wasn't an expensive car for the fact at all. It was a $28,000 car, which if you talk about in today's day was right. But that car meant the most to me, and it's the car that I treated the best because I worked so hard for it. Like I traded actual hard labor and all of that to get to that.
Made it much more valuable. And you've had some pretty nice cars, brother.
Yeah. But that's I always think like I want to buy another one. I want to buy another one because it may not hit the same, but I don't know.
It's threading the needle.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro.
Yes, sir.
It was a great day today. Yeah. Great conversation.
We killed it. We killed it. We've been killing it the last couple weeks.
Yeah, bro. That battle rhythm.
Yes, sir.
It's getting more and more into it, and I think people need to understand. Whether you're working, chasing your dreams, starting a business, trying to be healthier, everything has a price. Everything has a time, and it's not your time. You don't know when that time's gonna be, but you gotta be ready.
Yeah.
And when it calls, you gotta pick it up.
Yeah, whether you're ready or not.
And attack.
And that's what it is. I think you hit it on the dot.
I appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir.
Another day.
Next one. Another day in Woodland Hills.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.